All right, folks, here we go. Finally, welcome on back here for another fantastic edition of our Traders Talk Workshop this Tuesday morning, shortly after 11 o'clock, October 17th. Great to have all of our students and members alike back inside our live trading room once again. We have Kennedy, Lawrence, Jeff, Lawrence. We have Kathleen, Ravina, Rich, Brian, Phil, Gary, Mark. A ton of us, not just inside this live trading room, but a ton of us made money this morning on the TPST trade. Actually, before we begin here, I just got filled on a trade, actually. Let me set my stop just to taking a very small, tight size position in terms of Tupperware right here. I was going to get to that in just a moment. Just realized it got filled. So with that in mind, we'll see how that plays out. But great to have us back inside our live trading room. Yehuda, Jeff, Grant, and all of us back on social media, perhaps otherwise, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works. Be a friend, tell a friend. Just subscribe right to our YouTube channel, that being youtube.com/cybertradingyou. So there is a lot to talk about here. We'll see how Tupperware turns out here going into this trade right now I just took. But, Tupperware is a nice little stock from the morning session. Popped up really well off of earnings. This wasn't really our focal point for Traders Talk today, though. There were a couple of stocks yesterday that we did really well on that I want to go over. One of them, how could we not go over this here? Once again, TPST. So let me ask here. I know the answer to this, but I want to just re-ask. Who here made money on the TPST trade this morning inside our live trading room? If you made money on TPST this morning, I want you to let me know. I got to give a big shout out to Barbara, who I know made her day's pay on the TPST. She dipped out there early on, and Alex made 71 cents. He was in from $8. So I was saying before, this stock had so much opportunity where if you even chased it, I actually chased this stock on my second entry. I went in and out off the 730 level. We'll get to it in a moment, but I jumped back in, and that trade I felt like I chased. Well, even that trade, I still picked up a decent profit. So it goes to show, if you're able to even get in on a decent portion of this run, you're able to walk away 30 cents, 40 cents, 71 cents, like Alex said he made. Phil made 62 cents in and out. Ryan S., who's here every week, he made 80 cents nearly. Jith got in and out for 50 cents nearly. Chuck in and out for 60 cents. We're not trying to be perfectionists. We're not trying to get in at the bottom, sell at the top. We're just trying to at least take enough meat off the bone to fill us up, to satisfy us, right? If we're happy at the end of the trade, that is all that matters. Now, that could be easy to say with 10 years experience doing the same song and dance every day here, right? But as a new student, hey, it happens if you leave money on the table. It's a learning lesson. That's what we have to think about it the most as. It's a learning lesson. How could we learn from this and really learn to hold on to a trade longer when we should? Not just on every instance. So really quickly, go back to Tupperware and make sure I'm still in on my trade, pushing back up a small bit. Even the Tupperware trade from earlier today, right? It was coiling up so nicely. It looked like it wanted to try and break out. It just never did. So if you took an entry on that trade and all of a sudden it comes right back down and you don't know how to manage it, well, that's how you turn a decent entry into a loss. And you don't want to have that happen at all, let alone after a longer period of time. For something like TPST, well, this thing is so crazy that if you try and be a perfectionist and you try and hold on to get to the tippy top, or you're going to eventually lose sight of the move, of the bigger move at hand. And what goes up does come back down, right? We just saw it happen last week on the same trade. So before we even go into the whole review from yesterday into today, just take one look at what happened in this stock last week. Closed at the freaking highs at 977. The highs went from 2 to 977. Look where it opened up the next day. 530 it opened up. So come on. And even afterwards, you definitely write this stock off and just say, unless there's more news that comes out, or unless if it's up big on the pre-market gainers list once again, we have no business with it. And hey, the same is to be said on a bunch of different trades that we've called out from this past week. Take a look at OPGN, this stock from earlier today. Beautiful move. Well, look what happened a few days ago, right? Obviously, stock was very overextended, going from 86 cents a low to, or going from 165, even the high, or the open, up to a high of 384. Well, intraday, same candle, it came right back down. We're not trying to hold on to these trades. We're not trying to hope that they go back up. If they pop up on our scanners again, if there's news that comes out that allows for there to be more activity, we follow the big money. That's our whole mantra here at CTU. We're not trying to predict or be leaders. Actually, technically, if we're kind of talking indicators and whatnot, You say indicators are lagging, right? There is a big difference between being a lagger and being a follower. Someone that is lagging is behind the times, of course, and that is a follower to a degree, but a follower is educated. A follower is looking at something that is clearly ahead of them and studying it for you to at least gain a decent move off of it, not trying to carbon copy, do what they do. So, OPGN, if you get stuck holding on any longer than you need to here, trying to make the perfect move, obviously a big shake back down. So, for any of our new trial members here, we encourage you to go through our classes, our workshop recordings, of course, this Traders Talk itself. We're going to go over a bunch of stuff here in just a moment, but that's where we encourage you to go through our classes, become a student, namely, and then from there in our full curriculum, phases 1, 2, and 3, we look to train you on how to follow this on a day-to-day basis. So with that said, TPST, let's kind of unwind this whole trade from yesterday. I did get stopped out, by the way. Did get stopped out just now on Tupperware. Just turned over to that on my other screen. So yeah, if that pops back up, maybe we'll try it one more time. But just a tiny loss there. So TPST, we need to go back to yesterday's move for this really because obviously it started to pump back up beginning yesterday. Just really out of nowhere at the market open, right? You could say it was up a little bit percentage-wise in pre-market yesterday morning, but it was dropping off. It was tailing down. So really quick, I got to ask for our students like Lawrence and Grant, Phil and Charles and Chuck and Barbara and Jeff and all of us here, when a stock is dropping predominantly, what color are we seeing on time and sales? And what does that normally translate as? Red, right? And that normally translates to selling pressure, right? So when this is pulling back already in pre-market this morning yesterday, we had no thought it was going to, it's going to pop over $5 and make this move up to $7.50. Had no business thinking that. Now, I will say, if we were going to plot levels for this stock and see where the big money is trading, at least yesterday morning in pre-market, that we could do. That we could take a quick look to see. So bring this up right here. And with that, let's take a look. So this was yesterday morning in pre-market. I don't know why it's not showing my time axis here on the bottom. So I apologize on that. I've been having an issue all morning on that. So I will just ask you, what prices here do you see an orange-red line at? An orange or red horizontal line going across the page here on TPST yesterday. Where do you see that? All yesterday morning in pre-market, these two prices stuck out. So what do you got from Chuck and Ravina, Lauren and Mark? 460 and 5, all of us saying it perfect, right? Like obviously here, 42,000 shares to sell at 460, 41,000 shares nearly to sell at 5. So before anything going into the market open, okay, like those are our iceberg levels. Maybe if we get higher lows in the morning, we can get a push up to 460, and that could be a target on the trade. Or hey, if it's really making a nice pop, if it breaks over this, then perhaps it could hit 5, and that could be your initial target there. Give me a quick sec. Go back there on the chart. We all know what happened in hindsight. So very Captain Hindsight comment. It blew the roof off of both of those levels yesterday. So what happens here? Well, we ended up seeing this begin to spike up initially. But what really sold us onto this trade, we ended up seeing this big iceberg pop up on the buy side yesterday after the market opened up. We're talking 10 o'clock here, 10:05 in the morning. It's 102,000 shares roughly on the buy side. So a buyer out there for 102,000 shares appears at 390. Well, normally what happens is one of two things. You'll see this order get filled, like it will pull back and break into this order, and we'll either see it hold and go back up or it crashes. Or what it does is what you see here. It's used as a facilitator. It doesn't get filled. It's a real order out there, but it's not used as an order to get filled. It's used as a facilitator to just keep seeing this pump up and break over the smaller orders on the ask here up until 460. If I'm not mistaken as well, this order at 390, let's actually go back in pre-market here a small bit. I think, if I'm not mistaken here, I might have been mistaken. Give me a moment here, unless if it was from the day before, perhaps. Maybe that was the first of the iceberg orders that did show. Yeah, maybe it started at 390 here, so pardon me there. So what happens is We see this order show up. It acts as I'd said, a facilitator, and it leads to a big pop. It breaks over 460, moves right on up to 5. Now what happens, though, is this order ladders up. So they pull this order on the buy side at 390. They instantly move it up to like 4 or 401. What they're doing is they're looking to see this pump up even higher. They're still using it as a facilitator to see it break new highs. So across the early parts of this morning, this is like 10:08, 10:14 in the morning, like prime time trading hours. What happens is the iceberg that was there at 460, that becomes support, right? Because here you have that iceberg that was there at 460, 40 plus thousand shares. Well, it got filled. It broke over it, made some nasty shakes. This thing was shaking around like no other early in the morning, at least. But over time, that 460 price is used as support, where it pulls back and touches it perfectly. And then from there, it begins to break out again. It breaks over the next resistance that's there at $5. So a large portion of our trading strategy, this is easy to say in hindsight, but the more that you kind of watch this here, the easier it is to anticipate. But the more times that you keep seeing a level get pressed and tested, it's more bound for it to make that break above it, or for, if anything, for it to make a more decisive reaction off of that level. So at that, hey, the same thing could have happened at 460, where it could have had a tougher time breaking this resistance. But you could just tell right away on the first candle, it smashed like 30 cents above it. So the hope is from that candle, it's like, all right, well, if it's going to just break that resistance right away and run 30 cents insta, you do want that resistance to become support. So you are looking for the under and over right away from 460. But the more times this presses the next resistance at 5, it does touch it here on this candle, then perhaps the more times it nips and gnaws at it later on, you can get the breakout higher. So seemingly easy to say in hindsight, but it breaks above 5 and it continues. What's our next resistance after that? Let's take a look one more time on the TPST order book here. Let me bring this back up. It's got halted a bunch of times, though. So, this ended up becoming a very ugly trade once it got halted a few times going up, once on the way down. Normally, just to go over these halts very, very quickly, like very fast, you want to focus on the halt print. So when this reopened up off its first halt here, you have a big 179,000 share print. You can call it a buy print for now, but a print at 625. So really that becomes instantly your key level to watch on this trade, because when we're looking at iceberg orders out there for 64,000, 110,000, well, this market print that came in at 625 for 179,000 shares, we'll call it, I'd like to say that's pretty significant, to the point where that should become a strong level of resistance. And once it gets broken over, resistance should look to become support. So let's see what happens. Let's see how that played out. 625. Obviously, it's going to make some nasty shakes over time. So it ended up dropping around that price for a little bit, but you could see it tried to stabilize around that price, 625 here, going into the late morning, early afternoon. Did a really good job, actually, just some nasty shakes beforehand. And it did a good job of holding support after here. All right, breaks below it and it tanks. So really, before I plot my next line, really, when it moves back up right here, I wouldn't be too keen to jump in. I would expect this support level that got broken through to become resistance. That is where, once this breaks over it and proves itself as support, it's laying over it for like 10 minutes straight there. It's really solidifying itself as a level after it breaks back above it. From that point, easy to say, it makes the better of the two moves, makes the higher high and the run that we wanted originally from 625 here. All right, what else do we got on this chart? Is there anything else that stands out here that appears as pretty interesting? Well, namely, what happens over time. I'll delete this crap on the chart, but namely what happens over time is this just holds under 750. It has a really tough time trying to break over the next big iceberg. It's not as big as the halt print that came in there, but it's an iceberg that was holding the stock under the price 750 for about 40 plus thousand shares. You could just see it moved up there, it tanked, and then an iceberg showed up later on. And going into the afternoon, it really tried pressing up against the highs and just couldn't break it, right? So I will tell you, actually, where's our Twitter account right here? I want to get our Twitter account popping up right now. I don't know what's going on. I'm having an issue with my internet, my computer layout right here. All right. So if you follow us on Twitter, follow us at Cyber Trading U on our Twitter account. We're posting a couple things here and there, but more or less on the TPST trade. This is what we tweeted out early this morning at 8:27, early. Everyone be careful on TPST here in the pre-market. I'm talking this morning. About 26,000 shares to sell, just lowered their sell order. It's likely to push the stock down. A breakout above 750 could be interesting, though, if it can happen. Again, this is our level from yesterday morning here in the afternoon. That's 750 iceberg. It was holding it in pre-market this morning once again. I'll call this just the 8 a.m. spike. You see a flash move up and down. I don't call that even a real move. So generally speaking, it was holding 750 as flawless as you could imagine. But otherwise, though, there's really not much of an entry unless we can make that breakout. So that will kind of take us into this morning. And I'll show actually that other picture, heat map. All right, so here we are once again in pre-market this morning for the TPST. We'll go back to that tweet there that we had. So a couple of our students, Jim and Brad, looked to follow us on our Twitter account yesterday, so they likely saw this themselves. This is this morning. New iceberg at 750 popped up on the sell side. They moved their order lower here, and this is like 8 o'clock, 8:15 a.m. About 26,000 shares to sell, moved their order lower. So, hey, this was taken at like 8:15, nearly 8:30 in the morning. Just even from that point, like pre-market this morning, what happened? How could we use the big money to anticipate what happens next? Well, that order moved from 750 down to 730. What I didn't show originally was that that order started off at $8 and moved their order down here very early in the morning, and it took a while for it to break lower, but it did. Well, as it moved back up again, this order moved lower one more time down to 730. Look what happened across the rest of the morning here in pre-market. This is all before the market opened up, mind you, but we ended up seeing this stock pull back lower down to as low as 661, 660. It dropped off even more at the open, right? So it goes to show that you got to really look to follow these orders out there, especially early in the pre-market trading, but all across the day. Now, obviously, this ended up dropping off. It actually bounced down towards that 625, and essentially it made a slingshot, right? Essentially, this made a really strong slingshot off of that 625 level. This is where I can sit here and tell you that if you have certain levels on your chart for the morning, if you, plot levels for a stock, and the correct levels, the big smart money levels, that 625 from yesterday, mind you, that's still going to be relevant to today's trading. Now, if it breaks below there and just crashes and burns, I'm not going to look at it. Then it's a done deal. Then that's it. So even this morning, it was breaking down. It pulled back. Like on this lower low, you basically write it off. You basically say, all right, game over. Probably going to tank much lower down to 6 or even less. Well, when it fails to make that real break and clearly break lower, like it broke lower, but you know what I'm talking about. It didn't tank. It didn't really drop much lower to 6. It curdled back up. It moved back up to that damn 625, didn't it? I saw that. And as it was beginning to push up above 625, I jumped in on this trade at 631 as my entry price. For all of us inside the trading room, that was the first major level on this trade. I can't sit here with a smile on my face and tell you that we call out the breakout every single time and jump in at the first level every single time and catch every single trade perfectly. But for the ones that we're watching and we have our levels set on and we're more intent to watch because we have our levels set, it provides that what if scenario. Like, oh shit, what if this ends up breaking above this level here? Let me ask us, for Eric joining us today, or Grant, or Phil, or John, Yehuda, and Mark. I'm skipping our trial members, mind you, because they're certainly not aware of my catchphrases just yet. I got a few catchphrases that you'll get used to over time. But simply put, you know where I'm getting to here. When a stock breaks through a big level, and we're calling this a big level, Mark already answering here. What are we getting shortly after? Couldn't even let me take my drink, Mark. Come on, man. I've been talking all morning here. Nah, I'm teasing him. He says a big move shortly after, as does Eric and Barbara and Ravina and Yehuda and Grant and Steve. So, I mean, this popped up so fast. It got halted like that. That's the dream situation right there. Like, I would have been content with like a pop and drop and to get out at 60-ish or whatever on a quick shake. Hey, from 631 to get out at 660 even is like 30 cents on 1,000 shares. That's $300. Not a bad pay there on one move. But when this popped up so much, I was like, oh man, this might like get halted here. And it did, much like it did yesterday. So let's see what happens, because I'll actually show this on the real time and sales for this one. Go into the time and sales at 9:48 in the morning, 9:49 in the morning. I hope I get this right here. Try and time this here pretty nicely so I don't waste time going through this damn thing. There we go. One shot. There we go. One time. So when this reopened up off of its halt, your halt print here is 106,000 shares filled at 7-Eleven. So 7-Eleven becomes a new level to watch on this trade suddenly. You would focus on a whole number like $7. You should. But hey, when there's 607,000 shares filled exactly at one price right here, yes, this becomes a new level to keep an eye on. So looks like it had a pretty decent time holding above it, generally $7, you could say, but under and over from that halt print at 7-Eleven. I'll be very transparent with you. When I jumped back in on this trade, it was not from 7-Eleven. I took this trade when it broke out above 730. I'll show that coming up in a second, the next trade I took on this. But even as I go back on this and show you the whole print and how it played out, it's just interesting seeing that the line plotted there, right? It really shows that there could have been a good opportunity under and over, under and over. So if you're looking for support to build, that's primarily what you need to see happen. But a couple things. A, we still got that damn 750 level from yesterday, that huge iceberg from pre-market in the morning. So that is our clear top line resistance to work off of here. I say top line because there became an intermediate level under 750. That became a damn big level as well. And that's at 730. So let me show you this here. This got halted. Here's your halt print, 7-Eleven. There we go. So we ended up seeing this actually right after the halt. Big iceberg did show up for about 49.50K nearly at 730. The order got pulled, but they didn't get placed anywhere, I don't think. They didn't like move their order anywhere. They just naturally pulled their order. When that happens, I still respect the price to a small degree. But what made me respect it more was the fact that this order popped up again, like a new sell order popped up, or maybe it's the same person, who knows. But, about 37,000, pretty close in size. So yeah, about 37,000 pops up on the ask here at 730, and that makes me respect that price even more. So it popped above it. I took a small loss at first. It broke over 730. I got in at 731 or 732. I got out at 728 as it pulled back. Just like we said, when a stock breaks through a big level, Phil, Dan, Steve, Yehuda, Barbara, Ravina, the whole list of our students, you know what we should be expecting shortly after. So let me ask us, very Captain Hindsight question here, right? Does it make any logic or any sense for me to hold on to this trade when I jumped in from 732 here? Does it make any sense or logic for me to hold on as it drops down here to 705, popping back up a bit, shaking around, up, down, left, right? Like, I could just take the -4, -5, whatever the hell, and focus on the next trade, like another stock. Or maybe I could focus in on another entry on this if it provides me the break over 730 again, or if it shakes down to a support that I see. So yeah, it makes no logic, right? You're only pulling your hair out. So at that, I have no ego and I have no problem. I'll take a tiny loss and move on with my day. But what happens is I'm like moving on to different trades. I'm probably moving to Tupperware at the time. I took a trade on this SOXL that I sure wish I held on to. That's for damn sure. Well, it's to say that if TPST begins to perk back up towards that 730 and it's still nipping that level and trying to break over it, then it provides you the chance to say, what if? So I avoided this shake here at first as it moved up, but once it began to re-break over 730, I did take this entry at first as it nipped over 730. It got filled at 731. I thankfully survived this shake as it pulled back. So as it nipped back up, I said, all right, well, let me make sure that this ends up not breaking lower, if anything, but making the real breakout that you want. So I will tell you, I survived one shake, but it ended up breaking out. When a stock breaks through a big level, what are we getting shortly after? I don't need you to type at this time. So from there, it popped up really well. Again, I shoot straight here. I will just tell you the straight news on this trade. I don't know what the hell happened, but my entry from 731, when I jumped back in here, I closed out in full, averaged at 760. I meant to close half my trade out just to take half out. I had to have closed the whole thing out right there. I was so pissed off. I was on the microphone at the time. So, we're doing a show, Fausto and myself. We're doing a stream on YouTube actually from this morning. We're not trying to show emotion like that. We're not trying to be a negative Nancy, not trying to cry over sour grapes. But man, when that popped up even more and I realized I wasn't in on the second half, I actually closed out in full. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy taking 30 cents. It's $300 profit. But I wanted to hold on to the second half, and it was a mechanical mistake or mental mistake, we'll call it. So here's the interesting part on this move. And that's where I was saying, like, Alex made like 80 cents on his trade or 70 cents on his trade, and he chased it. He said, I'll tell you, I chased it too, Alex. I jumped back in on this one more time. And from there, it ended up leading to a pretty strong run. So it was more off of like 830-ish here at the time as it moved up and up and up. So as it was perking up higher, I said, all right, if this ends up beginning to try and make the higher high, there's not much resistance that you have until, well, you could tell me, but I'll say it for you. $8.90, $9. You got two icebergs that show up for, not as big as what we had originally here in the morning, but 23,000, 26, 27,000. I don't want to jump in just to jump in, because that's where you could just take a really bad trade. And if this reverses sooner than later, then you're held liable for a big loss before it even breaks a big level again. So, I wanted to see this break the highs here. And what led me to jump in was there was a nice little iceberg order. I don't know if it's going to show up. There it is. There we go. Small little order on the bid. Not a big iceberg, but a smaller one. You could see it there. It shows about 11, 12,000 shares at $8.20. So right from that point, I'm like, all right, just jump in really quickly. It led to a nice little pop. And from there, I just scalped it, basically. I even forgot where I got out on the exact exit. Just it was flattening around here. I said, that's it. Just going to take my money and run. If it pops up higher towards 9, I'll be happy for those that are still in it. And it did. So I was happy for those that may have tried to take the perfect exit. But like I had said before, there's no need to be a perfectionist. At the end of every dinner, we all hopefully get full, and, we don't eat the same amount every time, but we eat until we get full. So we're not trying to eat more than that, right? That's where we get a stomach ache. So at that, it ended up topping off at 9, made the perfect move, but what was the end result after? Right back down, right? So there's no need to hold on really at that point. I was very content, especially with chasing it, especially with getting in from like a higher price, like 832, 831 is my entry here. I wasn't really a fan of jumping in when I did. I felt confident to take it, but I don't think anyone here likes chasing. I don't think anyone here likes taking a trade directly in between two major levels, right? So you got to play it really tight. You got to play defensive and set a very tight stop. Who cares if it shakes down and you take a -6 or -5 at that point? Because, hey, if you killed it on the first couple of trades, it's like tipping the blackjack dealer. You give a little back, not a whole lot though. Like, hey, Tupperware, as I come back to this trade I just took as we started Traders Talk, I thought there was a case to try and see this hold support again from 225. If it's not going to make that move, just take the -2 or -3 it was. You'll live to see another day, right? And you don't want to hold on to this. So all in all, TPST, it's still shaking around a bit here, right? It's actually still shaking around. It hasn't made a true, well, it tanked here. It did make a lower low from this point here, but from the last dip, it hasn't broken lower. Does it provide hope and optimism for a chance to see one more pop? Maybe, but I don't like maybes when I risk thousands of dollars of my hard-earned money. I like yes or no. So, maybe doesn't cut it for me. To me, it would be a matter of seeing, does this break a higher high? Can this make a clean flip of resistance of 825-ish here, 826 into support? If it could break over that, then so you're saying there's a chance. That's kind of how I feel about it. All right, so I wanted to go over the TPST because I got a few emails on it, so I probably killed a couple birds with one stone with going over this here at least. But let me know if you have any other follow-ups on TPST in particular. Got a couple emails here to go through as well on top. Really quick, just for all of our new students here, just a little heads up here. Once you're in the trading room, you don't need to click any extra links. We actually send out a few emails for you to write back to me on if you have any questions or whatnot. We do send an email link out for those that aren't in the trading room. But if you're in the cyber group room early in the morning, you're listening to myself and Fausto, just don't go anywhere and you're good to go. All right, so hey, let me just go through my email inbox a little bit more. I have a journal I can go through. Obviously, we will not reveal the name of said student, but perhaps a couple trades from that journal that I can go over. Just one moment. My internet's horrible right now. I don't know what's going on, but Excel taking forever to load. All right, so these are a couple trades from last week. Actually, a nice move I can go over on the stock BPTH. There's a nice trade on TPST from this trader. They ended up making $30 on that. It was a nice catch from them. All right. So, and also really quick, folks, we said this just before, but for any trades that you want me to go over, if you send over an Excel spreadsheet, like your trading journal, I might go over a couple of trades in Traders Talk, but I never reveal name. So always feel that you should have the chance to send your journal over knowing that, hey, even if it's a loss, you take a licking on a trade, I'm not going to say, oh, it's, Billy's journal or whatnot. It's not Billy's journal here, trust me. No, but seriously though, for this trader here, perhaps we can go over BPTH and just see that as a runner from the end of last week. Perhaps I don't have bookmap for this. I had a couple of requests from another student to go over a few trades from last week that I don't have the bookmap for. So that really is the missing piece to going over this. In fact, but had a trade on BPTH. They took the stock at 9:37 Eastern time. Cheap stock, so do it on 500 shares. Why not? They got in after the first 5 minutes, the time 9:37, the price at 105. So you could see what happened after. I see what happened after. But let's see altogether, because $1 you would assume to be a key level. Again, I don't have the book map, the level 4 for this stock, but more or less at $1, you should assume for that to be a pretty key price anyway. All right, so at 9:30 it opens. What I'm interested in here actually is what's the opening print? I can actually go back to this. This is from Friday, the end of last week. So Friday morning, actually, I can go back on this on TradeStation. I probably shouldn't have done that. 1 second. There we go. All right, so as I cough here, why don't you tell me, what do you see as the opening bell print? What's the price? What's the size for all of us just on social and all of us inside our live trading room? And as I asked you that, I had a question from one of our trial members, Loren, here asking, what do the colors mean? Red, orange, yellow, etc. So if you're referring to like the heat map, the book map page I just showed before, that's those are all based off of limit orders, like buy and sell orders out there. Time and sales here, that's a whole separate beast. That's something I can cover in the phase 1 stock course that we provide. It goes to show buys and sells, but there's different meanings for the red and the purple, the green and the yellow, or even the white that you see there on the screen. So it takes a lot more to just analyze it than just a quick little answer here. I hate saying that at times, right? Because I like giving a full answer, But let me ask all of us here, what do you see as the opening bell print back from Friday morning, looking at this time in sales? What's the price? What's the size? What do we got? Phil's saying 0.9145, and I would say so. About 91, 92 cents, basically. You could round up or down. 137,000 shares. So again, we don't know what the order book looked like here at the time, but I would imagine 137,000 is pretty significant. So the issue with this is that it does pop right away, like at 931, 932. It starts to move off that level, and we advocate for traders, including this student, to wait the first 3 to 5 minutes. So altogether, it holds support there at first, but after it makes the break over 1, it pulls back under this. This is an enormous red flag just right away, and I'll get into that in a moment. But once it pulls back under this and tanks, you can't expect this to hold again as support. It held here, right? So at that point, that 91 cents becomes irrelevant. It becomes useless, because once it breaks under that, at best, that 91 cents, that opening print gets flipped into resistance. So it even broke above it here a little bit, but over time, just lower highs, it held back under it, lower low. So getting back to at least the dollar level that presumptively the student took the trade off of, right? Waited the first few minutes, took the trade. Now, a couple of things on this I will say. When you're trading an expensive stock, let's look at Tesla. A, you're going to trade smaller size, but B, you could afford getting in 10, 15, 20 cents off of your big level. You can't say that on a stock, let's say like PLTR, a $17 stock, right within our price range, not cheap, not too expensive, right there in the middle. Yeah, you can't really take a trade 15, 20 cents off of a key level on a $15, $20 stock like PLTR. Now, if I say that about PLTR, $15, $20 stock, what do you think I'm going to say that to when it comes to a dollar stock like BPTH? So if we're looking at $1 as our key level, I would want to get in like a penny or two right over 1, like not try and get in really any more than that. The reason I say that is because, hey, it actually provides you a little bit more room to set a stop, or it provides you a little bit more time to set the stop at that. Because once it breaks over $1, let's say you jump in like pretty much right here or on the next candle, just shaking around before it tanks, the green candle I'm referring to. If you jump in at 101, 102, then you definitely want to set your stop at like 98 cents, 99, maybe 98 cents, 97 cents. No more than that, really. Again, it goes back to that same catchphrase, that same sentiment that you'll likely get bored with over time as a new member. But when a stock breaks through a big level, we're looking for that reaction. We're looking for that decisive move shortly after. At worst, I would look for that to become support. At worst, like it flattens over 1, it does nothing for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then it runs up. I'm not a fan of that move, but that's a move that I accept. I'd rather just blow the roof off 1 and, move up to 110 and hold higher lows from there and then move up again, right? When a stock breaks through a big level, big move shortly after. So that's where I could tell you from that green candle, let's say you jump in on that green candle there, just for instance, it could be the candle before even, but let's say the green candle, you got to set your stop right away. 98 cents, 97 cents, like the most. And then from there, obviously, you take the loss either way. Like either way, you take the loss. So there's no spin zone as far as, you get out at 105 there. No, you're looking for a big move. So if it's not going to make that big move, you got to take like a small loss or a break-even trade at worst. I don't know. I got to talk to my student on this. They sent it to me a few minutes ago, actually. So just chat them on the side. I got a coaching call with them this week and go over it. But, one thing is like the exit on the trade, they got out a little lower, right? And again, completely unnamed student. So, you don't know who this is, but it's just to say, they got out at like 83 cents. So my belief is that they either didn't set the stop at all, or unfortunately, the damn thing shook down so fast, like right after they got in, like milliseconds after they got in, to where they just had no chance. So let's actually break this down into like a 15-second chart. I could do that here on TradeStation. Probably need to go back here a little bit. Well, it depends on the timing of their entry. But if they jump in as it breaks over 1, not as it's dropping back down to 1, but if it's breaking over 1 and you jump in, you should have that time. Like right here, like it breaks over 1, you have a number of minutes there. And you have 1 minute and 30 seconds basically to set that stop. That's all. Now, I will say, like, I don't know how they entered as far as the mechanics behind it. I just show this to everyone because let's say if there's a trader out there that doesn't look to buy when it breaks directly through the level on the way up. Immediately, when it breaks over 1, you want to jump in right away. Meaning, if you have a limit order to buy just waiting to get filled at $1 or at 101, just, looking to catch that falling knife there, what can go wrong, right? Well, obviously, you see what happened there, right? Now, I don't think that's what my trader did here. I think it could have been more of a matter of just not setting the stop at first. But that would be the worst case. Like if they, just jump in as it's pulling back down and they just leave the buy order hanging out there, that's not how we train you on how to enter trades. So that's more of a blanket comment, not to this trader in general or specifically, but just to everyone in general. That you really shouldn't be entering a trade like that. If they took it right as it's popping up over $1 initially, this is still at 936 and 15 seconds. You got time. You definitely have time to set that stop, right? Actually, they didn't include the seconds on it. Damn. They did post the times and the prices, obviously, but they didn't include the exact seconds there. They said 937. So kind of like in between there, so to say. All right, so that was actually a really educational example to go over. I love this actually because again, no mention of the name. It just goes to show, like, as far as if it's not going to break higher, you got to set the stop because this is what's going to happen. Without going into another trade, I can just show you OPGN again and just take one look at what happened. Not even here, but back last week when this thing pumped and dumped like really badly. I probably need to go back an extra day or a few. Yeah, just take a couple looks at these graphs here, up and down, and this is the after hours at least, but following morning and pre-market early, same deal. And then obviously the crazy move that we saw, like got halted 20 times, 30 times on this trade. It's a casino stock. I mean, we're not trying to make educated decisions on a trade like this when it gets halted and it reopens up every 5 minutes. So it's just to say, look what happened to this stock afterwards and look at where it's at today. So that's where you don't want to hold on to these trades any longer than you need to. If it's not breaking higher from your entry, from your level, there's only one other way it's going to go. That's all. All right. Actually, I'm sorry. A quick question that came in from private chat early this morning. So sometimes I'll get this before I tell you folks to email me. I had a trial member go ahead and private chat me a question. I really like that, actually. So I'm just happy I reminded myself here internally. So I had a question from Mayor, one of our trial members, kind of asking, how do people buy stocks at pre-market? Just generally, like that's just it. How do people buy stocks in the pre-market trading session? So anytime I get a question asked like that from a trial member, it's just a blanket comment. I got to do my job, folks. Cross my T's, dot my I's here. As a trial member, we advocate for you to not trade. We advocate for you to just take a step back and observe. Now, that's what this trader could have been doing the whole time, but I just want to say this out loud to everyone joining us. Last thing that we want you to do is for you to lose money when you're just doing a stupid $9 trial. You know what I mean? If you do like, a Pandora subscription or a Spotify subscription, you do a trial, you're not losing money while you're taking the trial. There is risk involved with trading, right? And we don't want new members that are uneducated, even if you have a wealth of experience with just the market. If you don't follow level 3 and level 4 until this, you're uneducated on it. And that's okay. I'm uneducated on a zillion different things in life, right? This is the only thing I'm actually educated on, by the way. It's to tell you that, you got to make educated decisions with this. And if you're not familiar with day trading equities, then we don't want you to risk any money, right? So that's a blanket comment to everybody. But right back to Mayor and to answer this question, legit, how do people trade in pre-market or buy stocks in pre-market? So the answer to that is you're going to have different order bars. So let's say for my order bar, there is a duration feature where it'll give you different options on what to set it to. You have a bunch of crap here, honestly, that I don't even touch. Like 99% of this or 90% of this I don't touch. But really for myself, these are the two. I have day and I have day plus. So actually, as I set my order type to stop limit, so I can use or at least show day plus. Day plus is pre-market. It's pre-market, it's post-market, it's the extended hours. You could use this also GTC plus, also GTD, like any of the pluses show extended hours trading, pre-market, post-market. Now on Thinkorswim, it might look slightly different than this. It might have like EXTO, I think is the abbreviation on TAS. But on your order bar, whether it be TAS, TradeStation, Interactive Brokers, Fidelity, there typically is a duration setting or feature, and it will give you those options. So regular day, if you keep it set to just day, you're not going to be able to trade the pre or post market. Really quickly, I apologize. Looks like Tupperware is moving back over my level. I want to take a trade on this right now. I've been looking to follow this across the whole morning here, and we took a couple moves on it early in pre-market. I showed you I took a 2 or 3 cent loss just before. It's inching back up right now, and I'm afraid that this might look to pop here pretty soon. So, son of a gun, I don't want to just jump in. You got a 14, now 17,000 share order here sitting on the ask at 227. So, for right now, that is resistance, but it just popped above it there. All right. So right now, what I want to do, I hope this doesn't pop without me, but I'm going to be a little bit patient on this. If it can just inch back a little bit, because 225 is really the point I wanted to try and take it from, or 226, maybe at most 227. So I do want to see this just kind of slip a little bit, and we'll kind of go from there. But Tupperware is trying to pull back up. See if that can make the breakout higher, at least later on. All right, folks. Hey, let me know if you have any other trades that you want to go over or questions alike. Otherwise, I didn't really see too many. Sometimes I'll get an email that comes in. It looks like a question, but it says, thanks for the invitation. But, I'm actually away this week. I'll be back next week. So not really a question that came in there. Hey, for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works, feel free to send over any questions after this workshop is complete. Josh at ctutrading.com is the handle. It's just starting to squeeze up a slight bit right now. If this can pull back, I may look to just take it at 27, but I don't want to chase. You got the VWAP also here at 232. You got a bunch of tiny little levels on this trade because it's a cheap stock. So you're going to focus on your 50-cent levels, whole numbers. You got the VWAP there, the opening bell print around that 225. All right, so I just jumped in right now. I took it right at 227. I'm going to set my stop at 223. I'll risk 4 cents on it. I'm content with the entry price because it's just 2 pennies above where I wanted to basically take it from 25 there. So let's see what this could bring us here. Now, the reason I jumped in, it broke over a big level that I was following. So that's first off. Secondly, well, it has news. There's earnings out on the stock. So, there's a lot of people that were focused on this trade from the morning and still are, like myself. So there's a catalyst. And hey, otherwise, again, like we said at first, it's moving back on up. It's breaking over a big level that I had in my head in the morning that I was going over with one of our students on a coaching session right before we started this live workshop. So, and I know they could vouch for me because they're in our trading room right now. From Stavros, one of our trial members here, saying ASMB keeps bumping up to the 143 big order. Ooh, I'm going to flip-flop here back and forth. So from Stavros asking, love the name, by the way. My favorite comedian is his name is Stavros. He's actually a very popular comedian right now. He bursted on the scene the last couple of years. Anyway, Stavros asking me about the big order, rightfully so. Look at this thing. It's pretty damn big, 149,000 shares at 143. That is a pretty big level to me, Stavros. Yeah. Now, I don't have the book map open for this trade, so let me just say. Don't shake down on me, Tupperware. Don't break below my big level now. ASMB, right? I got to reformat my book map here. Nope. Oops. There we go. 141, there was already a huge print that came in, likely a short that came in here, 466,000 shares. It's going to complement the 143 level now. I'm led to believe that this is going to drop off. I'm led to believe this is going to tank. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to be correct. Oftentimes I am when I say that shit, but it is to say in the event where I'm wrong, if this does pop and run, well, there is a pretty clear level for us to focus on, Stavros, right? It's 143. I mean, I would say it's 141 at first, but with this new order showing, it leads you to ask, hell, what if this can pop over this order here at 143? That's where you think about taking the trade if it pops over it. My prediction is I don't think this will pop over it, but hey, let's see what happens. All right, so folks, actually, I'll tell you what, I got a coaching call coming up at 12 o'clock Eastern time. Haven't sent out the damn link yet. I thought I did, actually. I had it prepped up, Eric, so my apologies there. I'm going to send it out to you right now. But, hey, folks, last call. Let me know if there's any last questions that you want to go over or stocks that you want to look at here before we finish up. Up, down, left, right. Let me know, folks. Last call. And again, here for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, most importantly nowadays, and YouTube. We should say YouTube most importantly, actually, but we've been trying to do a lot more on our Twitter feeds of late. So feel free to follow us on Twitter as well, actually. A couple different accounts that you could look to follow us on our Twitter. That first being Cyber Trading U, same as our YouTube account there at Cyber Trading U. Or otherwise, my personal Twitter account right here at C2Josh. Both you could look to follow at Cyber Trading U and at C2Josh. But those are our Twitter feeds. Look to follow us there. Look to follow us on YouTube, or look to make the plunge inside our live trading room. You can scan that QR code on the top left of the stream, get you access to a week-long trial inside our live trading room. Join our students like Danny, Scott, Grant, John, Leda, our trial members like Loren and Stavros joining us here, and plenty more. I hope all of our new members have enjoyed so far, at least our week. We've had a nice Monday to begin, and then obviously today, with the way the market moved, a couple of good shorts, but some nice pops to work with as well. So one more look on Tupperware. We getting this move or what? I have my stop still set right here, so we'll see if it could at least hold, but I don't mind seeing this kind of make the pop from this point. If we can get 225 to hold, then see this break over the VWAP, and we could really begin to see this move. We've had this iceberg order here at 260, 262, all from the open session. So, hey, just like we teach in Traders Talk here, but more so in our main curriculum, our classes, it leads you to ask why. You want to kind of put yourself in the shoes of like a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old. Hey, why is that order out there? Why has that order been out there all morning? Why? No guarantees, but the more it ends up beginning to trend up and the more it ends up breaking over a big level, it leads you to think there's a chance, right? There's a chance for this to try and go. So, hey, check back in with us this afternoon, folks, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time this afternoon. I'll be back on for the afternoon meeting, and we'll see where this Tupperware lady trade takes us. All right, folks, I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.